Now, there's a strong link between identity politics and the left side of politics. You could walk the entire length of the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, or canvass the students at an ethnic studies lecture at a major university and struggle to find anyone who doesn't vote Green or, if they're not completely batty, Labor. It's a nice fit. The leftist parties happily endorse the redefinition of marriage or vilify Western civilization as colonial genocide and reap the electoral rewards every few years. The Liberal Party doesn't go in for identity politics, partly because it stands mostly for individualism above such superficialities as sexuality and skin colour. But this doesn't mean the party should be so ambiguous about the identity of who it represents, or at least who it doesn't represent. You might have heard South Australian Senator Alex Antich say on this show on Tuesday that the Liberal Party is often falsely portrayed as the party for big business. He's right. The Liberals have never represented the big end of town, and it has succeeded best whenever it has been explicit about its true founding purpose, which is to represent Middle Australia, the hardworking, family-oriented people, not the elites, who it turns out are as fickle about their political proclivities as they are about remembering to tick the carbon offset box on their annual first-class flights to the ski lodge in Chamonix. Party founder Robert Menzies identified his true constituents in his Forgotten People speech in 1942. They are the people whose small businesses and community spirit are the true backbone of Australia. The most successful Liberal Prime Minister since then, John Howard, was socially, economically and indeed spiritually aligned with this massive demographic. They were his battlers. Tony Abbott was cut from the same cloth and might have gone on to achieve the same as Howard if Malcolm Turnbull, the Prince of Point Piper, hadn't cut his grass. Scott Morrison had a certain suburban authenticity but lacked the political convictions that go with them. Whether Peter Dutton can persuasively position himself among the battlers is yet to be seen, but he won't lead the party to victory if he doesn't. The left side of politics brands itself as inclusive, but it's anything but. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said in 2012, quote, "I fight Tories. That's what I do." Yeah, well, I drink red wine and go surfing whenever I can, mate, so what's your point? The Tories Albo was referring to, and against whom his animosity seems to have only slightly diminished, are not really Tories, whatever they are, but fellow Australians. Many of them would have been the taxpayers who funded the social housing in which he so proudly grew up with his struggling single mum. It's a sad truth that whenever Albo mentions his humble beginnings, it's always in the context of the underdog defying low expectations, which is true, but never with gratitude for those whose hard work paid for the social housing that saved him from growing up literally on the streets instead.